The meeting room on Space Station Harmony's Edge was cold and quiet. Ambassador Tejo sat at the long metal table, looking across at the alien creatures who had been his enemies for 3 years. The peace talks were going nowhere. Every day, they talked about the same things. Every day, nothing changed. Tejo rubbed his tired eyes. He was getting old for this job. At 55, he had spent most of his life trying to make peace between humans and aliens. Today felt like another waste of time. The Outer Rim colonies belong to the Vex Empire, said Commander Vexisthar. The tall gray alien spoke through, a translation device that made his voice sound like broken glass. Your people built homes on our land. Those worlds were empty when we found them, Tejo replied. He had said these same words 100 times before. Your people never lived there. The Vex commander's 4 eyes blinked slowly. His skin was rough like old leather, and his hands ended in sharp claws. All worlds belong to the Vex. We were just not using them yet. Sitting between them was Kethlar, a tall blue alien from the Zephyrian species. The Zephyrians never showed emotions. They were known across the galaxy for being calm and fair. Kethlar was the mediator, trying to help both sides find peace. Perhaps we should take a break, Kethlar said in his flat, emotionless voice. These talks have been going for 6 months. Maybe fresh air will help. Tejo nodded. He was about to stand up when his communication device beeped. The message was from Dr. So-Min, the human medical officer on the station. Ambassador, please. Come to Medical Bay 7 right away. It's urgent. Tejo frowned. Dr. So-Min never called him unless something was seriously wrong. I have to go, he told the others. We can continue tomorrow. The walk to Medical Bay 7 took 10 minutes. The space station was huge, with long hallways that connected different sections. Tejo passed other humans, aliens, and robots going about their daily work. Harmony's Edge was supposed to be a place where all species could live together in peace. Most days it worked. When Tejo reached the medical bay, he found Dr. So-Min waiting for him. She was a small woman in her 40s with short black hair and worried eyes. She had been the station's head doctor for 2 years. Tejo had never seen her look so upset. What's wrong? He asked. Follow me, she said quietly. But prepare yourself. What you're about to see will make you angry. They walked down another hallway to a section Tejo had never visited before. This part of the medical bay was used for prisoner examinations. When humans and Vex exchanged prisoners, they always checked them for injuries or sickness first. Today we received 37 human prisoners from the Vex, Dr. So-Min explained as they walked. They were captured during the attack on New Busan Colony 6 months ago. We thought they were all adults. They weren't? Tejo asked. Dr. So-Min stopped walking and looked at him. Her eyes were full of anger. 15 of them are children. The words hit Tejo like a punch to the stomach. Children? The youngest is 6 years old. The oldest is 14. They've been kept in Vex prison camps for 6 months. Dr. So-Min's voice shook with rage. Come and see. She opened a door, and Tejo followed her inside. What he saw made him want to scream. The room was full of humans sitting on medical beds. Most were adults, men and women who looked thin and tired. But scattered among them were small figures that made Tejo's heart break. Children. Human children. Some were so small they could barely sit up on the beds. Others hugged stuffed animals that were dirty and torn. All of them looked scared and hungry. A little girl with pigtails saw Tejo looking at her. She quickly hid behind a woman who might have been her mother. A boy who couldn't have been more than 8 years old stared at the floor, his hands shaking. My God, Tejo whispered. They're malnourished, Dr. So-Min said. They haven't had proper food in months. Some of them are sick. All of them are terrified. She walked over to a small boy. This is Wu-Bin. He's 7. His parents were killed in the attack on New Busan. He's been alone in the prison camp this whole time. Tejo knelt down next to the boy. Hello, Wu-Bin, he said softly. You're safe now. The boy looked up with big, frightened eyes. Are the gray monsters gone? He asked. Yes, Tejo said, fighting back tears. They can't hurt you anymore. Dr. So-Min pulled Tejo aside. There's more. The adult prisoners told me that the Vex treated the children just like adult prisoners. They were given the same small amounts of food, forced to do work, and punished when they cried. Tejo felt something dark and angry growing in his chest. In all his years as a diplomat, he had seen terrible things. War was always ugly. But this was different. This crossed a line that should never be crossed. "I need to tell the mediator," he said. They walked back to the meeting room together. Kethlar was still there, reading documents on his tablet. Commander Vexthar had left. "Kethlar," Tejo said. "We need to talk." The blue alien looked up. "What is the problem?" "The prisoners you helped exchange today. 15 of them are children, for the first time in 2 years of working together." Tejo saw emotion on Kethlar's face. The alien's eyes widened, and his mouth opened in shock. "Children?" Kethlar said. "Human children?" "Yes. The youngest is 6 years old." Kethlar stood up quickly, his chair falling backward. Even though Zephyrians were known for being emotionless, this news clearly upset him. "This cannot be true." "Dr. Somin can show you," Tejo said. 10 minutes later, all 3 of them stood in the medical bay looking at the human children. Kethlar stared in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "In my species' history, we have fought many wars. We have seen terrible things. But never, never have we taken children as prisoners." He turned to look at Tejo. "This is wrong. This is evil." Dr. Somin nodded. "In all the wars humans have fought, we have rules. Children are not soldiers. They are not prisoners. They are innocents who must be protected." Kethlar activated his communication device. "Commander Vexthar, please return to the meeting room immediately." 20 minutes later, the Vex commander entered the room. His 4 eyes looked annoyed. "What is so important that it cannot wait until tomorrow?" "Did you take human children as prisoners of war?" Kethlar asked directly. Vexthar's rough skin changed color slightly. "We took humans who were on the colony. All humans are enemies." "Children," Kethlar said, his voice getting louder. "You took children. Young humans, old humans. What difference does it make? They are all the same species." Kethlar stepped closer to the Vex commander. The blue alien was tall, but Vexithar was taller. Still, Kethlar seemed to tower over him. "You are insane," Kethlar said. "Even the most savage species in the galaxy do not make war on children. What kind of monsters are you?" Vexthar's claws extended. "We are not monsters. We are practical. Human children grow up to be human adults. Human adults become human soldiers. We simply removed future enemies." The room went completely silent. Tejo felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. Dr. Somin made a small sound of disgust. Kethlar stared at the Vex commander for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice that was colder than space itself. "These peace talks are over. I will not sit at the same table as someone who makes war on children. You have dishonored yourselves beyond forgiveness." Vexthar laughed. "You think we care about your honor? We are winning this war. Humans are weak. They will surrender soon." Tejo stood up slowly. Something had changed inside him. The diplomat who had spent years trying to make peace was gone. In his place was something harder, something angrier. "No," he said quietly. "We won't surrender." He activated his emergency communicator, sending a priority signal to Captain Jinwoo of the UES Soul's Pride, the human warship stationed near the neutral zone. "Captain Jinwoo, this is Ambassador Tejo, Emergency Priority Alpha." The reply came quickly. "I'm here, Ambassador. What's your status?" Tejo looked at the Vex commander, then at the scared human children in the next room. When he spoke, his voice was steady and cold. "They took our children, Captain. The Vex have been holding human children as prisoners of war for 6 months. Children as young as 6 years old." The silence on the communication channel lasted for 10 seconds. When Captain Jinwoo finally spoke, his voice was different, harder. "Confirmed, Ambassador. They took our children." "Yes." Another pause. Then, "Sir, I'm contacting Earth Command immediately. What are your orders?" Taeho looked one more time at Commander Vexthar, who was still standing there like he had done nothing wrong. Tell Earth Command to send everything, Captain. Send everything we have. Understood, sir. Sending everything. The communication ended. Taeho looked at Kethlar, who nodded slowly. Your people will not forgive this, the Zephyrian said to Vexthar. The Vex commander laughed again. Let them come. We are ready for war. As Vexthar left the room, Taeho realized that everything had changed. The peace talks were over. The war was about to begin again, but this time, it would be different. The news traveled fast through human space. They had crossed the line, faster than anyone thought possible. This time, Admiral Humanity would show the galaxy what happened when you threatened their children's revenge, watching the communication screens light up with incoming messages. She had been a military commander for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Admiral, said her communications officer, Lieutenant Jae-min, we're getting calls from everywhere. The Martian Defense Fleet wants to join us. The asteroid miners are asking how they can help. Even the peaceful colonies in the inner worlds are sending ships. Hee-jin shook her head in amazement. How many ships are we talking about? Over 800 so far, and more are coming every hour. 800 ships. That was more than the entire Third Fleet that Hee-jin commanded. These weren't military ships either. They were cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger transports, and small private craft. All of them were heading toward the Vex border. Put me through to Earth Command, Hyojin ordered. The hologram of General Kyung-soo appeared in front of her. He looked tired but determined. Admiral, I assume you've heard the news. About the children? Yes, sir. My fleet is ready to move. Good. But there's something else. Something I've never seen in 30 years of service. The general paused. Humanity is uniting. Hee-jin frowned. What do you mean, sir? I mean every human faction, every colony, every corporation is mobilizing. The Mars Corporate Alliance just donated 50 armed cargo ships. The Independent Miners Union is sending their entire security fleet. Even the pacifist colonies that refused to help us in the last war are sending medical ships and supplies. The Admiral felt a chill run down her spine. Humans were famous for fighting each other. They argued about politics, territory, money, and everything else. But now, how is this possible? She asked. Because they took our children. General Kyung-soo said simply. Human children. That changes everything. On the mining station, rock bottom, engineer Dong-min worked without sleep for 3 days. His job was usually fixing broken mining equipment. Now he was turning civilian ships into warships. Hand me that plasma cutter, he told his assistant, Young-soo. They were working on a cargo hauler called the Lucky Strike. It used to carry supplies between colonies. Now it would carry weapons. Is this really going to work? Young-soo asked, watching Dong-min weld armor plates to the ship's hull. It has to work, Dong-min replied. Those Vex monsters think they can take our children and nothing will happen. They're wrong. Around them, dozens of other engineers worked, on other ships. Mining vessels were being fitted with military-grade weapons. Passenger ships were being converted into troop transports. Cargo haulers were becoming supply vessels for the growing fleet. Dong-min called out Engineer Hayrim from across the dock. The transport ship New Hope just arrived. They're carrying 300 volunteers from the farming colonies. Dong-min looked up from his work. Farmers were some of the most peaceful humans in the galaxy. They usually avoided all conflicts. Farmers want to fight? Their leader said. Something about protecting all children, not just their own. At the edge of human space, pilot Soo-jin led a squadron of converted mining ships toward the fleet gathering point. Her ship, the Iron Fist, used to drill for minerals in asteroid fields. Now it carried enough firepower to destroy a Vex cruiser. Soo-jin, came a voice over the radio. This is Captain Woo Seok of the merchant vessel Prosperity. We're carrying medical supplies for the fleet. Good to hear, Captain. Follow us to the rendezvous point. Soo-jin looked at her scanner. Hundreds of ships were moving through space, all heading in the same direction. Big ships, small ships, old ships, new ships, all of them crewed by humans, who were angry about what the Vex had done. I've never seen anything like this, her co-pilot Minho said. It's like every human in the galaxy decided to join the same army. Maybe we did, Sujin replied. Far away, in the neutral space of the Galactic Council, alien leaders watched the human mobilization with growing worry. High Counselor Velnara of the Ethereal Collective floated in her meditation chamber, studying the reports her scouts brought her. The Ethereals were ancient and wise. They had observed many species for thousands of years, but they had never seen anything like what humans were doing. Advisor Merketh, she called to her assistant. Show me the human fleet movements again. The holographic display showed human space filled with moving dots. Ships were coming from every human world, every station, every outpost. They were all heading toward Vex territory. In all our records, Velnara said slowly, we have never seen a species unite so completely. Humans fight each other constantly. They have different governments, different beliefs, different goals. How is this possible? Perhaps, Merketh said. We did not understand humans as well as we thought. On the war world of Karak Prime, the alien species known as the Mordak watched the human mobilization with professional interest. The Mordak were warriors. They respected strength and understood warfare better than most species. General Thokval, a massive creature covered in scars from 100 battles, studied the tactical displays. The humans are not moving like separate fleets, he told his staff. They are moving like one giant organism. Should we be concerned? Asked his aide. Thokval was quiet for a long moment. The Mordak had fought humans before. They were tough opponents, but they were divided. Human fleets sometimes fought each other as much as they fought their enemies. Yes, he said finally. We should be very concerned. I have seen humans at war before, but I have never seen them united. Back in human space, the gathering continued. At the main staging area near the Vex border, Admiral Hyajin watched ship after ship arrive. Her fleet of 60 military vessels had grown to over 2,000 ships of all sizes. Captain Jinwoo of the UES Seoul's Pride docked with the flagship to report. Admiral, we have a problem. What kind of problem? We don't have enough military officers to command all these ships. Most of the volunteers are civilians. Hyejin nodded. She had expected this. Then we promote them. Anyone who can fly a ship and wants to fight the Vex gets a temporary military rank. We'll sort out the paperwork later. Yes, ma'am. There's something else. The crew of the mining ship Deep Digger asked me to give you this. Jinwoo handed her a data pad. Hyejin read the message on the screen. It was from the miners, written in simple words. Our children were on New Busan Colony. 2 of them were taken by the Vex. We volunteer our ship and our lives to get them back. The Admiral felt her throat tighten. How many ships have personal connections to the children? About 60%, ma'am. The rest are here because they believe it's the right thing to do. On Earth, General Kyung-soo stood in the war room, looking at the largest tactical display in human space. The screen showed their entire territory, with thousands of moving icons representing ships heading toward the battle zone. Sir, said his intelligence officer, Colonel Boram, the alien observers are sending reports to their governments. They're calling this unprecedented and impossible to predict. What do you mean? They can't understand how humans could unite so quickly. According to their models, it should have taken months to organize this kind of response. We did it in weeks. General Kyung-soo smiled grimly. They don't understand us very well, do they? No, sir. One report from the Zephyrian observers says, and I quote, human behavior has deviated from all known patterns. They appear to have transformed from a divided species into a single organism focused on one goal. The general walked to the window and looked out at the space docks. Even here on Earth, ships were being prepared for war. Volunteers lined up to join the fleet. Factories worked day and night to produce weapons and supplies. Colonel, send a message to Admiral Hyejin. Tell her she has the full support of Earth Command and every human world. Tell her to do whatever it takes to get our children back. Yes, sir. And the rules of engagement? General Kyung-soo thought about 6-year-old Woo Bin and the other children, who had spent 6 months in Vex prison camps. He thought about human children being treated like adult prisoners of war. There are no rules this time, Colonel. The Vex crossed a line that should never be crossed. Now they face the consequences. Near the Vex border, Admiral Hyojin received the message from Earth. She stood on her bridge, surrounded by the largest human fleet in history. Through the viewports, she could see hundreds of ships, military vessels, converted civilian craft, and volunteer ships of every size and description. All of them were here for the same reason. All of them were ready to fight for the same cause. Communications, she ordered. Send a message to all ships in the fleet. Ready, Admiral. Hyojin took a deep breath. To all human vessels, today we make history. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten our children. We are no longer separate colonies, separate corporations, or separate governments. Today, we are one people with one mission: bring our children home. The response was immediate. Every ship in the fleet activated their communications at once, creating a chorus of voices that could be heard across 3 star systems. For the children. The Vex border had never seen so many ships in one place. Fleet Admiral Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the UES Incheon's Fury, watching his screens show over 2,000 human vessels spread across space. The sight was beautiful and terrifying. At the same time, every ship was ready for war. Admiral, said his communications officer, Lieutenant Tae-won. All ships are in position. We're at the edge of Vex space. Jae-sung nodded. He was 60 years old and had commanded fleets for half his life. But he had never led anything like this. This wasn't just a military operation. This was humanity itself, united and angry. What's our sensor reading on Vex forces? He asked. Their border defenses are going crazy, sir. They're scrambling ships from 6 different systems. It looks like they weren't expecting us to bring this many vessels. Through the viewports, Jae-sung could see the converted civilian ships that made up most of his fleet. Mining vessels with weapons welded to their hulls, cargo haulers carrying armed volunteers, transport ships filled with medical supplies and rescue equipment. Sir, called out Captain Young-ho from the communication station. We're receiving transmissions from the Vex. They want to know our intentions. Our intentions are simple, Jae-sung replied. Open a channel to all Vex frequencies, full broadcast. The communication system activated with a sharp beep. Jae-sung knew that his words would be heard on every Vex ship, every Vex station, and every Vex world in this sector. This is Fleet Admiral Jae-sung of the United Human Fleet. 6 months ago, you attacked the civilian colony of New Busan. You took prisoners of war. Among those prisoners were 15 human children, aged 6 to 14 years old. He paused, letting his words sink in across Vex space. You have 72 hours to return all human children to us, unharmed. This is not a negotiation. This is not a trade. This is your final warning. Another pause. If you do not comply, we will come and take them back. Every ship you see here, every human in this fleet has one mission. Bring our children home. Nothing will stop us. Nothing will turn us back. Return our children or face the consequences. The transmission ended. Across the human fleet, 2,000 ships waited in perfect formation for the Vex response. Deep in Vex space on the fortress world of Vex Prime, the military leadership gathered in their war room. War Prime Vex Moore, the supreme commander of all Vex forces, studied the tactical displays showing the human fleet. How many ships? He asked his intelligence officer. Over 2,000, War Prime. Most are civilian vessels, but they're all armed. Vex Moore laughed, a harsh sound like breaking metal. Civilian ships? They think to threaten us with cargo haulers and mining equipment? Sir, said Intelligence Chief Kexnall, our analysts are confused by human behavior. Usually their different factions fight each other as much as they fight us. But now they seem to be working together. So what? They are still weak humans. Our ships are superior. Our weapons are better. Our defenses are stronger. Vexmore turned to his fleet commanders. How many ships can we gather? 800 military vessels, War Prime. All of them proper warships with trained crews. See? We have quality, they have quantity. Quality always wins. On the observation ship Neutral Ground, alien diplomats from across the galaxy watched the confrontation with growing worry. The ship belonged to the Galactic Council and was positioned between the two fleets to observe what many believed would be the start of a new war. Ambassador Kelneth of the Sage Speaker's species floated in his meditation tank, studying the human fleet formation. The Sage Speakers were known for their wisdom and their ability to predict how wars would unfold. "This is wrong," he said to his aide. "Everything about this is wrong." "What do you mean, Ambassador?" "Look at their formation. Human fleets usually spread out to cover more space, to protect their supply lines and escape routes. But this fleet, they're arranged differently." The aide looked at the tactical display. "How are they different?" "They're not arranged for conquest or territory control. They're arranged for total destruction. Look, their heavy ships are in front ready to smash through defenses. Their fast ships are on the sides ready to chase down any enemies who try to run. Their support ships are protected in the center." "That sounds like a normal attack formation." "No," Kelneth said quietly. "This is the formation you use when you don't care about taking territory or winning a normal victory. This is the formation you use when you want to completely destroy your enemy." Nearby, xenobiologist Thulkar was running his own analysis of human behavior. He had studied humans for 10 years and thought he understood them well. Now, he was discovering how wrong he had been. "Assistant Veltara," he called to his research partner. "Look at these brain scans from human volunteers we studied last year. What about them? Compare them to the new scans we took of humans in that fleet. The brain activity is completely different. The areas that control aggression, determination, and protective instincts are all showing maximum activity." Veltara studied the data. "That's impossible. No species can maintain that level of intensity for weeks at a time. They should be exhausted." "That's what I thought too. But humans seem to be different. When their children are threatened, they don't get tired. They don't calm down. They get more determined." Back on Vex Prime, War Prime Vexmore received the human ultimatum with amusement. He gathered his commanders in the main briefing room to discuss their response. 72 hours, he said, laughing. "They give us 72 hours to surrender, or they will attack us with mining ships and cargo haulers." His fleet commanders laughed too. Commander Gextar, leader of the Vex First Fleet, spoke up. "War Prime, should we even respond to this?" "Joke?" "Oh, we should respond," Vexmore said, "but not the way they expect." He activated the communication system and sent a message back to the human fleet. But instead of words, he sent a video. The video showed a Vex prison camp. Human prisoners stood in rows looking thin and tired. Then the camera focused on two adults, a man and a woman who had been captured during the attack on New Busan. "Humans," Vexmore's voice said over the video. "You want to threaten us? Here is our response." On-screen Vex guards grabbed the two human prisoners. The man tried to fight back, but the guards were too strong. Both prisoners were dragged to the center of the camp. "Every threat you make will be answered with death," Vexmore continued. "Attack us, and we will execute every human prisoner we hold, including the small ones." The video ended with the execution of the two adult prisoners. The message was clear. Surrender or more humans would die. On the bridge of the Inchin's Fury, Fleet Admiral Jae Sung watched the video in silence. Around him, his officers stared at the screens in shock and anger. "Sir," Lieutenant Taewon said quietly, "they just executed prisoners on live broadcast." "I know. And they threatened to kill the children if we attack." "I know." The bridge was completely quiet for several minutes. Finally, Captain Young-ho spoke up. "Orders, sir?" Jae-sung looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet. 2,000 ships filled with angry humans who had dropped everything in their lives to rescue 15 children. Farmers who had never held weapons. Miners who had converted their equipment for war. Merchants who had given up profitable trade routes to join the fight. All of them waiting for his orders. "Open a channel to all human ships," he commanded. "Channel open, sir. This is Fleet Admiral Jae-sung to all vessels. You have all seen the Vex response to our ultimatum. They have executed prisoners. They have threatened to kill our children. If we attack..." He paused, thinking about 6-year-old Wu Bin and the other children who were depending on them. "The Vex think this threat will make us back down." They think we will abandon our children to save our own lives. They are wrong. His voice got harder, colder. We gave them a chance for mercy. We offered them a way to avoid total war. They chose to murder prisoners instead. They chose to threaten innocent children. Now they will face humanity unleashed. Across the fleet, 2,000 ships powered up their weapons at the same time. All ships prepare for combat. We cross into Vex space in 6 hours. Our mission has not changed. Bring our children home. But now we have a second mission. Show the galaxy what happens when you cross the line that should never be crossed. The response from the fleet was immediate and overwhelming. Every ship activated their communications at once, creating a roar of voices that could be heard across multiple star systems. For the children, no mercy for child killers. On the observation ship, Ambassador Kelneth watched the human fleet begin moving toward Vex space. The ships moved together like a pack of hunting animals, fast and determined. They're really going to do it, his aide said. They're going to attack an entire empire to save 15 children. Yes, Kelneth replied, and I believe they're going to win. How can you be sure? The wise alien looked at the tactical displays one more time. The human fleet was smaller than the total Vex military. Their ships were mostly converted civilian vessels. By all logical analysis, they should lose this war. But logic didn't account for what Kelneth saw in the human formation. It didn't account for the way they moved together, like a single organism with one mind. It didn't account for the fact that every human in that fleet. Captain Wu Jin watched from the bridge of his stealth frigate as Vex warships burned in the darkness of space. His ship, the UES Silent Hunter, had been designed for reconnaissance and spying. Today, it was hunting Vex command vessels with deadly precision. Target their communications array, he ordered his weapons officer. Cut them off from their fleet. The plasma torpedoes struck the Vex cruiser's communication tower, turning it into twisted metal and fire. Without communications, the enemy ship was blind and helpless. Next target, Wu Jin said calmly. This was the new reality of war. Humans had stopped following the old rules of engagement. They weren't trying to capture territory or win a fair fight. They were systematically destroying everything the Vex could use to resist them. On the heavy cruiser UES Iron Hammer, Commander In-Su coordinated the bombardment of Vex Prime's outer defenses. His ship was one of 50 human warships hammering the enemy fortifications with continuous weapons fire. Sir, the Vex are requesting a ceasefire, reported his communications officer. They want to negotiate. In-Su looked at the tactical display. The Vex defense stations were in ruins. Their fleet was scattered and burning. The civilians on the planet below were probably terrified. 6 months ago, he might have accepted the ceasefire. That was before he learned about human children in Vex prison camps. No negotiations, he said. Continue bombardment. Target their military shipyards next. Sir, those shipyards have civilian workers. Then the civilians should evacuate. We're not targeting them, but we're not stopping either. Every ship they can't build is one less threat to human children. The alien observers watched the battle with growing horror. On the neutral ship Peaceful Eye, war chronicler Zeftal recorded everything he saw for the galactic archives. Day 2 of the human assault, he spoke into his recording device. The humans do not fight like any species we have catalogued. Normal warfare has rules, patterns, logical objectives. This is different. He paused, watching the tactical displays show human ships advancing through Vex space like an unstoppable storm. When most species fight, they seek advantage, territory, or resources. The humans seek something else. They seek to remove their enemy's ability to ever threaten them again. It is systematic. It is thorough. It is terrifying. Assistant researcher Kelvana looked up from her data screens. The humans are not trying to conquer Vex worlds. They're dismantling the entire Vex military structure. Every shipyard, every weapons factory, every training facility. They're destroying all of it. Yes, Zeftal agreed. They are not fighting a war for territory. They are fighting a war to ensure this can never happen again. On the converted cargo ship New Dawn, Tactical Officer Min Jung coordinated orbital strikes with the efficiency of a professional soldier. But she wasn't a soldier. She had been a freight coordinator until 3 weeks ago. Team Alpha, Hit the weapons depot at coordinates 77 Mark IV, she said into her headset. Team Beta, take out the military academy at 81 Mark 9. Her assistant, former merchant captain Jae Woo, looked at the targeting data. Min Jung, that academy has young Vex trainees. They're basically teenagers. Min Jung paused for a moment. Before this war, she would never have targeted a school, even a military one. But then she thought about 6-year-old Wu Bin and the other human children who had spent months in Vex prison camps. Send them a warning first, she decided. Tell them to evacuate in 1 hour. After that, we destroy the building. This was what the humans had become. They weren't cruel or bloodthirsty. They still tried to avoid unnecessary death. But they would not be stopped by mercy or sympathy. Not when children were at stake. In the medical bay of the transport ship, Healing, Light Medic Sang-ho worked on wounded human soldiers. His hands moved quickly and expertly, treating burns and injuries from the ongoing battles. Doctor, said his nurse, the Vex are requesting medical assistance for their wounded. They say they'll exchange medical supplies for safe passage for their hospital ships. Sang-ho didn't stop working on the soldier in front of him. What do they need? Plasma burn treatment and emergency surgery equipment. Send them the medical supplies, Sang-ho said. But no safe passage. If they want to treat their wounded, they can do it while we finish destroying their military. The nurse looked surprised. Sir, isn't that against medical ethics? Sang-ho finally looked up from his patient. His eyes were hard and cold. Medical ethics say we should help the wounded. They don't say we should let child killers escape justice. Send the supplies, but keep fighting. Strike leader Haewon led her boarding team through the corridors of a captured Vex battleship. Her team was made up of volunteers, former miners, mechanics, and traders who had learned to fight in 3 weeks of intensive training. Secure the prisoner holding areas first, she ordered. If there are any humans on this ship, we get them out. The Vex crew had already surrendered, but Haewon took no chances. Her team moved through the ship like professionals, checking every room and corridor. Leader, called out her teammate Dong-soo, a former asteroid miner. Found something in section C. It's not good. Haewon followed him to a small room filled with metal cages. The cages were empty now, but they were clearly designed for prisoners much smaller than adults. They were ready to take more children, Dong-soo said quietly. Haewon stared at the small cages for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was filled with cold anger. Blow this section of the ship. Make sure no one can ever use these cages again. The Vex military leadership watched their empire crumble with growing panic. War Prime Vexmore stood in his command center on Vex Prime, surrounded by reports of defeat from every front. How are they doing this? He demanded from his intelligence chief. They're using civilian ships. How are civilians defeating our professional military? Intelligence Chief Kexnal looked at the tactical reports with confusion. War Prime, they're not fighting like civilians. They're not even fighting like normal soldiers. They're fighting like what? Like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Every human in that fleet is willing to die for this mission. When you fight an enemy who doesn't fear death, superior technology means nothing. On the observation ship, xenobiologist Thulkar made a discovery that changed everything he thought he knew about humans. I've been studying human brain activity during this campaign, he told his research team. The results are impossible according to everything we know about biology. What do you mean? Asked his assistant. When most species fight, their stress hormones spike and then decline. They get tired, they get scared, they lose focus. But look at these human readings. The brain scans showed human fighters who had been in combat for days. Their stress hormones should have been exhausted. Their brains should have been showing signs of fatigue and breakdown. Instead, the humans were getting more focused, more determined, more efficient with each passing day. It's like they're becoming a different species, Thulkar said in wonder. Something is changing them at a biological level. The threat to their children has triggered an evolutionary response we've never seen before. Deep in Vex space, Doctor. So Min finally found what she had been looking for. Her rescue ship, the UES Mercy, approached a heavily defended prison planet where intelligence reports said the human children were being held. This is it, she told Captain Yoon Seo. 15 human children are somewhere on that planet. The defenses are still active, the captain warned. It's going to be dangerous. Dr. So-min looked at the planet through the viewports. Somewhere down there, 15 children were waiting to go home. Children who had been prisoners for 6 months. Children who probably thought no one was coming for them. I don't care about the danger, she said. We didn't come this far to turn back now. The rescue mission began with orbital bombardment from human heavy cruisers. But this bombardment was different from the others. The humans targeted only military installations, carefully avoiding areas where prisoners might be held. Precision strike on Guard Tower 7, ordered Captain Yoon Seo. Make sure the blast doesn't damage the prison buildings. Even in the middle of total war, even after months of systematic destruction, the humans still protected the innocent. They still tried to minimize civilian casualties. They were monsters when they needed to be, but they remained human where it mattered. As the rescue ships descended toward the prison planet, every human in the fleet felt the same thing. They were almost home, almost finished with the mission that had united their entire species. But first they had to face whatever the Vex had prepared for them on the surface, and they had to do it while protecting the very children they had come to save. The final battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to become whatever it needed to be to bring their children home. In space above the planet, Fleet Admiral Jae-sung watched the rescue operation begin. Around him, 2,000 human ships waited in perfect formation, ready to provide support. All ships, he broadcast to the fleet. This is why we came. This is why we crossed the galaxy. This is why we became something the universe has never seen before. He paused, thinking about the long journey that had brought them here. Dr. So-min held little Woo-bin in her arms as the rescue ship lifted off from the prison planet. The 7-year-old boy was thin and scared, but alive. Around them, 14 other human children sat with rescue workers, finally safe after 6 months of imprisonment. Are we really going home? Woo-bin asked quietly. Yes, Dr. So-min said, her voice gentle. You're going home, and no one will ever hurt you again. Behind them, the Vex prison camp burned. The human strike teams had moved through the facility like a force of nature, destroying everything that could be used to hold prisoners, while carefully protecting the children they had come to save. But the rescue was only the beginning. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the UES Seoul's Pride, watching the tactical displays. The human fleet had accomplished their primary mission. The children were safe, but they weren't leaving. Sir, said his communications officer, Fleet Admiral Jae-sung is ordering all ships to maintain position. We're not withdrawing. Good, Jinwoo replied. We're not finished yet. For 6 months, the human fleet had methodically dismantled the Vex Empire's military capability. They had destroyed shipyards, weapons factories, training facilities, and command centers. They had scattered the Vex fleets and conquered their fortress worlds. The Vex Empire, once one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, had been reduced to a dozen agricultural worlds with no ability to threaten anyone. War Prime Vexmore sat in what remained of his command center on Vex Prime. The planet's defenses were gone. His fleets were destroyed. His empire was in ruins. How many ships do we have left? He asked his aide. 12 cargo vessels and a few patrol boats, War Prime. Everything else has been destroyed or captured. Vexmore looked at the reports scattered across his desk. 6 months ago, he had commanded 800 warships and ruled over 20 star systems. Now he was the leader of nothing. They came for 15 children, he said quietly. 15 small humans. And for those 15 children, they destroyed an entire empire. His aide didn't respond. There was nothing to say. On the neutral observation ship, Ambassador Kelneth watched the final phase of the human campaign with a mixture of awe and terror. The humans could leave now, he told his research team. They have their children back, their mission is complete, but they're not leaving. What are they doing instead? Asked his assistant. They're making sure this can never happen again. Look at the tactical reports. They're not just defeating the Vex military, they're removing it entirely. Every weapon, every ship, every facility that could be used to threaten children in the future. Research specialist Nelvoth studied the cheers. This level of thoroughness is unprecedented. Most species fight until they achieve their immediate goals, then negotiate for peace. The humans are fighting until their enemy has no capacity to resist, ever again. Yes, Kelnith agreed. They're not just winning a war. They're rewriting the rules of warfare itself. High Counselor Velnara of the Ethereal Collective convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss what they had witnessed. The human response to the Vex actions has exceeded all predictions, she announced to the assembly. In 6 months, a divided species became a unified force that dismantled an entire empire. The representative from the warrior Mordak species, General Thokval, spoke up. We have studied human warfare for decades. We thought we understood their capabilities. We were wrong. How were you wrong? Asked the delegate from the peaceful Harmony worlds. We thought humans fought like us, for territory, resources, or honor. But when their children were threatened, they didn't fight for any of those things. They fought for something deeper, something we didn't recognize. Xenobiologist Thulkar presented his research to the council. I have been studying human brain activity throughout this campaign. The results suggest that humans have an evolutionary response that activates when their young are threatened. They become more than just soldiers. They become a biological force designed to eliminate threats to their offspring. The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. Are you saying, asked the delegate from the Ancient Minds Collective, that threatening human children triggers a species-wide protective response? Exactly. And once triggered, this response doesn't end until the threat is completely eliminated. On Earth, Teacher Yujin worked with the rescued children in a special facility designed to help them heal from their trauma. The children were safe now, but they carried the scars of 6 months in Vex prison camps. Miss Yujin, asked 8-year-old A, Su Young, one of the rescued children, why did so many people come to save us? We're just kids. Yujin knelt down to the little girl's level. Because you're not just anything, Su Young. You're the most important thing in the universe to us. Every adult human would cross the galaxy to protect children like you. Really? Really. And now the whole galaxy knows it too. Outside the facility, Yujin could see the crowds of people who came every day just to catch a glimpse of the rescued children. Flowers, toys, and letters arrived from all over human space. The children had become symbols of why humanity had united and fought. Psychological warfare. Specialist Yoon Hee continued broadcasting to the remaining Vex forces. Her messages were simple and direct. This is Specialist Yoon Hee of the United Human Fleet. You have 3 options. First, surrender your remaining military leaders who authorize the capture of human children, and we will allow your civilian populations to live in peace. Second, continue to resist, and we will remove every weapon and every ship you have left. Third, threaten human children again, and we will ensure your species never has the capacity to threaten anyone, anywhere, ever again. The broadcasts were working. Every day more Vex commanders surrendered rather than face the systematic destruction of their remaining forces. Former War Prime Vexmore finally made his decision. He walked out of his ruined command center with his hands raised in surrender. Around him, his remaining staff did the same. I surrender, he announced to the human forces surrounding the building. I surrender unconditionally. Captain Yunseo accepted the surrender on behalf of the human fleet. You will be tried for war crimes against human children. Your fate will be decided by the same species whose children you imprisoned. Vexmore nodded. He understood now what his people had awakened when they took human children as prisoners. They had thought they were fighting just another species. Instead, they had triggered something that the galaxy had never seen before. 6 months later, the war was officially over. Fleet Admiral Jae Sung stood before the Galactic Council to present humanity's terms for peace. The Great Assembly Hall was packed with representatives from every known species. The Vex Empire has been dismantled, he announced. Their military capability has been completely removed. Their leaders who authorized the imprisonment of human children have been arrested and will face trial. What are humanity's territorial demands? Asked High Counselor Velnara. None, Jae-sung replied. We didn't fight this war for territory. We fought it to rescue our children and to ensure this never happens again. The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Species throughout the galaxy had expected humans to demand huge amounts of territory and resources as payment for their victory. Then what do you want? Asked the Mordak representative. Jae-sung looked around the assembly. Every alien delegate was staring at him, waiting for his answer. We want understanding, he said. We want every species in this galaxy to know what happens when you threaten human children. We want you to understand that we will trade with you, negotiate with you, even fight wars with you according to civilized rules. He paused, letting his words sink in. But if any of you ever again target our children, you will discover that we are capable of becoming something far worse than any monster you have ever imagined. The silence in the council chamber was complete. Let this serve as notice to all. Species. Humanity is peaceful by choice, not by nature. We choose civilization, cooperation, and mutual respect. But that choice depends on your respect for the line that must never be crossed. And what line is that? Asked the ancient minds. Delegate, our children are off limits, always, forever, no exceptions. The message was received and understood by every species in the galaxy. In the months that followed, the Human Child Protection Protocol became an unofficial rule of galactic warfare. No species would ever again risk triggering humanity's protective response. On New Earth, in a garden filled with flowers and sunshine, the rescued children played while their teacher watched over them. They laughed and ran and acted like normal children, slowly healing from their terrible experience. Dr. So-min visited them regularly, watching little Wu-bin grow stronger and happier each day. Sometimes she thought about the war, about the 2,000 ships that had crossed the galaxy for these 15 children. Doctor, Wu-bin asked one day, will the monsters ever come back?